Hello and welcome. Thank you for tuning in. Today, I want to share a story for you, and we are probably going to be here a fair bit of time. So, I thought about writing a blog post or other formats to write it up, but ultimately, I think it's a story and it's best told in a personal way, face to face. And maybe the second best thing is via video, so you can get a better idea of who I am and what happened to me. And yeah, ultimately, it's something very personal. So I think the first time I'm talking in public about like a personal topic like that. And yeah, I invite you to come along and listen to what happened to me and the transformations that happened over the past 6 months. And yeah, if you consume this on your laptop or any other device, I mean, do whatever you like. But if I were in your shoes, I probably would put this to audio only and listen to it on the side, or yeah, make yourself comfortable and yeah, just come along for the story. So, what is the story about, and why do I share this with you? This is the story again of how I transformed from being completely overworked and close to burnout to becoming a much happier and more powerful and yeah, just a lot better person. And it's completely shocking to me that it's possible for me to record a video from this setting and that all that change basically happened without any like uh, pain or arduous procedure or something. It was purely mind shifts that happened that allowed for the transformation. And um, yeah, uh, I think there are 5 or 6 waypoints, which I will talk about in more detail. So how this transformation happened, but overall, it was like always significant pivots that just changed how I thought about things and approached things. That led me to a much better place. So for me, it was like an incredible experience. I don't claim that I have like anything figured out or universal receipts. The thing that I learned and experienced, I think there are quite a few people who have done similar things, who have seen similar things, and there are a number of books which describe the methods and the thoughts and the philosophy that also inspired me and led me along this path. And I will collect a few of those book ideas or book references in the website or in the comments to this video and invite you to take a look at them. But the only thing I can tell you with authority is kind of my story and how things were panning out for me. So I will focus on this and yeah, take you along the ride. So without further ado, let's get started. So what was the origin of the story? The story kind of starts in early 2024, where I was at a very low point, health-wise and energy-wise. So I had behind me 2 very strenuous years as a mid-level manager at a big company. It was a new experience for me. I jumped into cold water and had to like lead the department through a relatively shaky period. Like Corona was one of the challenges. And while I think I uh, managed to get through okay or even good, it was still extremely taxing for me. I tried to do my best. I tried to deliver at my best, and felt a lot of pressure to deliver. And I also wanted to do an extremely good job as a leader and keep everybody motivated and keep them motivate them, keep them interested, support them to the best of my abilities. But overall, I was reaching my limits. I wanted too much, and I think like if I again would have a leadership role, I would approach a few things quite differently. Well, that was like part of the pressure that was externally induced. I had a lot of like bad habits and health problems also some pathological problems that were really slowing me down and dragging me down. I felt like I have very, very little energy through the day, sometimes starting the week already like super tired. And coffee and sugar were really my boosters that get me through the day. And I felt like really, uh, yeah, basically enwrapped into this vicious cycles where you kind of sleep bad, then you are eating bad, then you feel bad about it, then you doom scroll and procrastinate a lot, and then the next day is also starting bad. And moods were shifting, and oftentimes I was just like not enjoying myself and having a hard time just keeping my emotions from everybody else, and not impacting my family more than needed or at all. But it was quite hard for me, and I was for sure not living up to my expectations, family wise, as a partner, or as a professional. So quite a low state, and it was actually deteriorated to a degree where I was very concerned about then the long-term trajectory, like putting 3-4 more years like that in would lead me to a very dark place. And I knew that health was a priority. So it was so bad that I knew 2024 has to be a year where I make significant progress with my health and getting to a much better state of mind. So that was kind of my mindset at the beginning of the year, but I wasn't exactly um, optimistic that I would be in a much better state. I have that kind of problems for more than 10, 20, 15 years, uh, episodes and shades of all the things I described. So making any like large changes seemed out of the question. I was just hoping for some tactical wins and some improvements on some of the fronts. Also gained significant weight. I didn't mention that, but this is an important part for me. Always struggled to, with being overweight or being obese, and I already like gained about 10, 12 kilos from the weight I was when I married about 10 years ago. So it was a constant trajectory of weight gain that was also quite a concern for me. And yeah, today I'm like 7, 8 kilos uh, weighing less than I was when I started. So also on that front, a lot of like improvement, but we will get to that. All right, so that was the beginning. So what was the first waypoint? The first waypoint was starting to coach. I had from my employer a very generous opportunity to take leadership coaching, primarily to help me to be a better leader. But ultimately, it's somebody who works with you and works like exclusively for you for all the things that are priority for you. And I had the fortune to meet and be working with an incredible coach. His name is Johannes, Johannes Metzler. I will leave the link to his profile further down and talk a little bit about its methods later on. But from the beginning, we connected extremely well, and improving health was from the beginning a topic, although at the start, the focus also was on different areas. For example, the next waypoint, which is actually giving up the management position. So that's something that didn't happen out of necessity or to improve health, but it was something that significantly contributed and had this kind of priority in mind. So what happened there was I was leading a department like 2-3 years ago with 5 teams, and then we reduced size and reduced size, and in the end it was only 3 teams. And then I realized that we would be even better off if we were only 2 teams, to consolidate, get the teams into a better shape, and aligning it better to the strategy we have for this area. So I basically consolidated the teams and rendered my own position superfluous. And yeah, I mean, there was basically a question: who is going to, the department had to be consolidated with a neighboring department. So we would have 5 teams and a solid department size. And there was, of course, a question: who is going to lead this new department? And that was something that I like contemplated for quite a bit. So am I going to push for getting this larger department, or am I going to step away? And ultimately, it was also the very technical concern about, okay, how do I really improve my health? That led me to step down and say, no, that will be better for me. And if I really manage to get my stuff together and improve health-wise, then I will be in a much better position by the end of the year to take on any other role. And it turned out that I didn't have to wait long until other leadership opportunities are arising. And at this point, I don't think I would have any difficulties with getting back to a position like this, which, well, of course, was a fear at the beginning. I didn't know that was something that I could get back. But yeah, there was also some discussions with Johannes, which reaffirmed me with that decision, basically saying, trust your gut and chase the goals which you clearly see in front of you, and don't speculate on some future gain which may or may not come. All right, so we have the coach, we have the decision to move back to an engineering role and leave the management behind us. And this brings us to the next waypoint. So then, which is a coaching session that happened like after we made all the decisions with the new department structure. And yeah, that specific session is still very vivid in my recollection, since it happened in a bakery, so a special setting. And that came out of a pattern. I tried to be more active and do a lot of cycling tours. And I also like to work from bakeries or cafeterias or cafes in the area, just to get a different environment for myself. I'm a remote worker for more than a decade, and that is something I really need from time to time. So, but for coaching, it was not a good environment, and we had some noises in the background. And afterwards, I promised my coach never to do this again, and it interrupted this session quite a bit. So, for that reason, it was memorable. But yeah, in that session, we really pivoted the coaching from the management aspect to the health aspects, and really deep dived or dove deep into those areas. And I approached this very open, really just explained how my day looked like at this point. And I for sure had this 3-hour doom scrolling on YouTube shorts, which were like dragging me down. I had very bad habits of snacking and eating a lot of sugar and coffee throughout the day. I was moody and like had a bad attitude to a lot of things. And just dragged myself through the day with like a lot of things, like just being in a bad or a lot of bad habits that were hurting me, that could obviously point to. So and Johannes helped me to gain a new perspective on all of this. So there are a few things that I still recall from that meeting that kind of stuck with me. The first one was that I always portrayed this kind of things that I did in the passive voice. I always said, yeah, then you kind of end up there, and then you do that. And he reminded me, like, no, these were choices that you made. And this is like a thing which you control, and which you act. This is not something you are a victim of. And while you shouldn't blame yourself, this is still something you have to realize and take accountability, of course, but also understand that you steer it, and like reflect that in the language. The second bit was very interesting. So I was also like rationalizing of why these patterns came and how I ended up there, and also like from my early childhood, which kind of pattern I took from there, and which basically explained some of the cycles I was in. And one thing I said was like, I'm inconsequent, as a like attribute that I arrived and observed for myself. And he was challenging this and says, like, why do you say you are inconsequent, or why do you think you are inconsequent? Of course you are not inconsequent, because otherwise there's no way you are ending up with a math PhD or with any of the other like visible like credits that you have achieved. So he made me really aware that by my language, I was creating a persona, creating an image of myself, I was creating an identity. Um, and the and then there is this other insight which he shared, that or basically a picture that he shared, is that the human mind is beautiful and an incredible problem solving machine, and it's actually a good machine. It will always solve the problem from a perspective that makes sense to it, so it doesn't really fail at this. And basically the picture is that um, or the insight is that deep in my mind, there were like there was a setting, a program where the behavior kind of followed from, and the behavior was a correct behavior given the incentives and the beliefs that were kind of inputs to that program. So the mind was doing the right work, but it was like optimizing for things that were not right. And what was that? So basically, there were the question is, if you look at your behavior and what is bringing to you that behavior, what are the beliefs that kind of make this thing logical? So why are you destructing yourself? Why are you doing this kind of things? Why are you pushing yourself through over the limit and damaging yourself? And that was also an eye-opening question for me, where I realized, hey, deep in there are things which are self-destructive. There are like self-worth issues where I don't feel I deserve to be happy or to enjoy life. There is like a deep belief that I'm only valued by the output I produce, and I have to contribute with all my energy, and also some like self-sacrificial tendencies of saying, hey, okay, um, you are not really worth as much as your work, and it's okay if you are suffering. And that was like deep inside mental images that were like informing the behavior at the end, right? If you start from that kind of mindset and this kind of identity, then your behavior was completely logical. You were just like pushing with every ounce of control and power you had to achieve certain outcomes which you think were important to improve your like worth that you assigned to yourself. And the coffee abuse and the doom scrolling were just results of this. So you are trying to push yourself. If the batteries are empty, you try to get energy to push through. And if your energies are empty and you sit in front of a machine like a mobile phone or a laptop, there's nothing your brain can do anymore. It's just exhausted, and it needs to get endorphin or dopamine or whatever. It cannot produce anymore. It needs downtime, and because it doesn't get sleep, it just takes YouTube videos. So that kind of like brought an interesting perspective to that behavior, but it also was leading a way out, which was thinking about the identity and fixing the fundamentals. And very interestingly, this is not about hard work. This is not about pushing yourself to like do certain things and being hard to yourself and really like talking badly about yourself. This is just about thinking differently, understanding that you are not just an output machine, but you are also a human being. And that was like a really key insight for me. So I like rationalized, at least for me, that I was thinking of myself purely in terms of like intellectual capabilities and output. And I neglected everything that was physical and activity driven. So being outside, being healthy, that didn't show up. And if you looked at my life and the outcomes I was generating, that was exactly the outcomes I was generating, right? I sacrificed health and I produced some output. I mean, some good output, you could argue. Um, but it was still like, I think, well below my capabilities, and it was also just extremely damaging. So, but from this perspective, it made sense, and it also gave me this approach to, okay, let's fix the identity, let's work on the identity. And so this is the first like thing I wanted to share, which I wrote down that night when I was at that. I came home after the after the bakery session, which was, I remember that I really contemplated and had this kind of thoughts on the way home, and I was had to write like 5 emails, and I was behind on so many things, but I managed to carve out some time to write down this identity. And this picture contains like the body and the mind in a yin and yang picture, and it has attributes and parts of how I see myself on the side. So on the mind side, I have like math PhD, blogger, speaker, and so on. And on the body side, I have stuff like runner, biker, hiker, football captain. I was leading a football team back in the day. So and also music and love and being a father and all this kind of things, which are like living between those two. And I tried to remind me about this. And I also like was digging up some old pictures. So that's me standing on a mountain, and I collected a few of those to make this real for me, to make it tangible, and convince myself that I'm not an output person. I'm not I have worth, and I have, um, I was once actually at a place that was a lot better than I was at that point in time. So that's also something I could cling to. I had that in my pocket. I knew I could do these things. I could be a very different person, much more positive person. So just writing it down and reminding me, like, a lot of things clicked, and I immediately became more healthy and also more active. So one thing I immediately started doing was biking a lot more. So every morning I would bring my kids with a bike to the kindergarten. It was kind of a little bit tricky to get two of them. I don't know, let's maybe 3-4 kilometers wide of a ride. But if you want to do it, there's really no problem. And I could completely easily incorporate this into my day. And I was a lot more also running, doing some tours to a nearby cafes or bakeries to do more of my sessions remote, and got some good work done and some solid kilometers some solid activity in, um, and improved, like took a like significant step up in my game, just thinking about this and just starting to explore this identity aspects and starting to be a different person. And again, it was completely mindset. The only thing I really did was think more consciously about who I wanted to be, started to create myself and not just like be defined, or letting myself uh, my behavior be sabotaged by ill-informed yeah self self-esteem, or uninformed self pictures you draw of yourself you end up with. Okay, let's move on to the next waypoint. So I had the big uh, privilege and pleasure to speak at a conference in Las Vegas a few weeks ago. And that environment was also like a very fruitful for me, since it was a clean slate, like very nice hotel, super inspiring environment, like super big conference. And it was my first trip to Vegas, and the whole city was extremely overwhelming and kind of mind-blowing and eye-opening. And I really enjoyed the time. And I just had uh, relatively clear days. I had to give my talk, that's true, but nothing, no meetings, very little meetings, extremely nice environment. And I could think about a lot of things. So I finished 2 books on the flight, into Las Vegas, which one was Slow Productivity by Cal Newport, and the other one was Atomic Habit by James Clear. And both really contain deep truth about identity and how to approach work. And this kind of like ideas were in my head when I was in that environment. And yeah, based on this, inspired specifically by the Atomic Habit book, I designed a little bit more refined morning routines for myself. I started to run every morning, and then take a cold shower, and then go to breakfast. And then I was also playing with this low productivity methods of basically the upshot is do less, do it slower, and obsess about quality. And there was one specific moment, which was in Vegas in the hotel in the morning, I think like 6 or 7 a.m. I was extremely early because I still was jet lagged. And I was sitting at my breakfast, and I had just one task for the day that I needed to finish, which was an email to our VP of engineering, an important email. And I tried to squeeze it out like within like 45 minutes maybe. This time I was saying like, let's take 1 hour at least, and I will like write the perfect email. I will be super focused. I will not check emails or do chat on the side. I will just focus on all the information I need to collect and summarize. And that was so beautiful. I was sitting there, mind super clean, super focused, and I was just writing each word with a lot of attention and like very explicit mindset. I was not rushing it or anything, but I was really like, what do I want to say? How can I express this most clearly? And just type it basically one letter at a time. So very like intense experience. And yeah, I mean, there was really, maybe it's not so special, but the clarity of mind was just so new to me. um, because I was always rushed. I was always like had tons of caffeine in me and kind of do everything in a hurry. And there was sitting with like completely composed, like cold shower, workout already done, really set up for the day, and typing this email like with a focused mind, clear mind. And I was like, wow, well, if I can get that kind of flow, this kind of intensity into more of my days and reproduce this, I will be unstoppable. This is going to be like such a huge boost for my productivity and my approach to life. This is it's amazing. And kind of this phrase monster came to my mind. I'm going to be a monster when I can kind of cling into that pattern and replicate that. It's not a monster in the sense of like frightening or aggression, but it's like productivity monster, like, or like limitless and powerful, like figure. But anyways, it was the term that came to mind and that stuck. And the next day I sat down to actually write specifically down what this monster identity was for me, and still have it in this book. It's very concise, and I still open it from time to time to remind me exactly of what that was. And here it is. So let me show that to you. So it's three things. The monster identity. First one is about health. So it's healthy and discipline. Run 5K every day, never eat more calories than planned. So I also started calorie counting about that time, and meditate daily. Second one is about the focus. So Zen-like focus on goals, embrace low productivity, say no to overload, and be never in a rush. And the last one is about like ambition and focus, or like thought leadership / being bold and not afraid. So it says razor sharp, bold, and generous. World-class thinker, speaks his mind without hesitation, and celebrates others. And this was like in a nutshell how I wanted to see myself. That was basically the shift from, okay, being self-sacrificial, being worth nothing without approval from others. This is the counter proposal. This is kind of being the monster, being healthy, being focused, being bold and generous, which are the attributes. And yeah, and the thing that was like also so shocking about it, this discovery and this like by writing it down, it became so tangible, is how easy it really was, right? Like this whole thing, there's nothing remotely hard in there. The run is the hardest thing maybe if you want, But what does it mean, right? Run 5K, it means go outside. Then it takes roughly for me about 35 minutes to run 5K. And I usually do that with headphones in, and I'm not pushing myself. It's just literally showing up to the run, being outside for half an hour, and then come back in. So that's it. And it's not prescribed that you can have it in the morning. You can do it in the afternoon. You can do it super slow if you want. So it's literally like be half an hour outside. And the other things, like the calorie counting is a little bit tedious, but I have a really nice app that does it with AI assistance called Pacer, which is a running app, but it's amazing for counting calories. And yeah, the meditation for me is only, it can be 2 minutes or so, but it's just like a little thing I threw in there to get extra juice out of the focus. So, and the other things are also extremely easy. So it was like, you can be somebody who is like a productivity monster without suffering, without anything hard, just by becoming that person. And that was amazing. That was really a complete game changer. And I just started executing that. I started being that person, and immediately like felt a lot better, and like started being a lot healthier. So I mean, the morning runs continued, and then basically at the same time, like maybe a day later or so, also a big mindset shift kind of came with regards to my career ambitions. So it went from just trying to be good, trying to kind of find my voice, trying to do contributions to the community, to assuming kind of the mindset of an industry leader. And I mean, I have been on that trajectory for a very long time, and I think probably some people already recognize me as such, but my mindset was not there. And just by, like, in similar ways, designing this industry leader persona, like, all the conversation changed at the conference. How people perceive me completely changed, and the conversations that I had were so much better. And I got connections which I like, to people which I admired for like 5, 6 years, and really showed up to, and they just recognized me as a peer. And there was like one conversation that came to mind specifically, where I was like, usually would be starstruck and kind of stand in my own way and cannot really make a personal connection. And where like instead I was immediately recognized as, hey, this is a peer. We are like equals, and we are having fun. Going to dinner or doing other things, and just had a completely like nice conversation and nice evening. So yeah, pretty incredible stuff. And I really went from Vegas with a clear plan of how my identity looked like, and how like my persona also as a professional was completely transformed. And yeah, so I had one thing I wanted to like really do when I came back, which was keep everything. Let this not be a Vegas thing. Keep the runs, keep the persona, and keep everything up. So that was the one thing I focused on. Having those crazy flights back, just get the run in. Also the day where you are jet lagged, and if you really set your mind to it, absolutely no problem. Just need half an hour, and then that's done. And yeah, so I was back from Vegas, and doing my runs in the morning, feeling great, really having a good time. And let me just check something, that I'm not telling this all to myself. Yeah. And yeah, then the next chapter comes, which is actually just the next week. So very short. So all this kind of stuff is happening in a very short time frame, where about these concepts are clicking. And the next step I took, inspired by a book from David Goggins called, or the David Goggins book, if you like, title is Can't Hurt Me, or Can't Hurt Me. And I found this book fascinating in many ways. He clearly starts from a completely different state, and he like gets his energy completely different than all the kind of like other things I read. He's started has a childhood history of abuse and had an incredibly like hard like teenage and young adult time to endure, and he pivoted and made all this suffering a strength and a source of power. And he got a extremely powerful mindset, and he basically pushed through incredible amounts of pain and brought his body to limits which are like way beyond like what I would consider like possible. And like it's very inspiring, and there were so many parallels about like thinking about identity, about mindset, approaching all of these things. So one of the things I took away from that book was that until death, like with regards to like doing things, everything is a mindset thing, literally everything. Pain is a like a feeling, but you can overcome it with mindset. And that's incredible because it shows you like how far this kind of methods really go when it comes to exploring limits and pushing boundaries. The physical boundaries are incredibly far away, and all that really exists are like made up boundaries and things that we don't um, yeah we don't dare to explore. But yeah, never mind. There's a lot of good things in the book. Fundamentally, I don't want to kind of play this demon game, and I don't have this huge childhood traumata. I have like a good bunch of childhood things that I don't want to repeat, and a fair bit of suffering, but there is no like trauma that I need to overcome, and no, like I don't think I need that as a source of energy. But I certainly think that that comfort is a quote unquote a hell of a drug, and that like exploring the boundaries and having a healthy mindset is absolutely key. So I was listening to his book on one of my morning runs, and I like thought to myself, what's keeping me from running like double the amount today? Like usually I run 5. Like how about running 10? It's keeping me from it. Is it just comfort? And yes, it was just comfort. There was literally no other reason. I mean, 10K is clearly better than 5, and yeah, it would give me an additional boost. And I had the time to put in before I had to work. There was the half an hour additionally I had easily. And yeah, so I decided to run a victory lap and basically use that mindset to push the limits. And the other thing, I decided for myself to enjoy it, and that was also a mindset thing because ultimately your emotions are always uh, reactions to your own thoughts. They are not reactions to sensory input. So we may see something which, like, it is what it is, right? We see something. And then if it's good or bad, that's in the end a rationalization and a value that we attach it by thought. And that is then having the emotional response to us. So I can like feel my feet and I can say, wow, that sucks. I wanna like, and have an emotional reaction of saying, okay, I wanna stop. Or I can feel my feet and say, wow, okay, yeah, they're still going. No physical pain, a little bit tired, but fine. Or I can uh, look at the weather and the trees and say, okay, it's starting to get cloudy. Maybe some stuff is in the air. I cannot breathe really freely. Or I can say like, absolutely beautiful, perfect running weather. I am enjoying this. This is great, and it will produce different emotions. And ultimately, by controlling your emotions and making decisions about your emotions, you can also decide, or I can decide, how I want to feel. And this is what I used for that episode. I just decided it's going to be great and to enjoy it. And I had that like 10K run, and it was absolutely beautiful. A completely great experience and a great success for me because it was the first time that I ever run 10K since I lived here. I was going for runs regularly, but I have always like did my 5K round and was never daring to push further. Yeah, I mean, retrospect, like, why not? But it was just the reality. I never pushed myself, and that day I did, and it was nice. And then, of course, the next thought was like, what about tomorrow? Am I going to run 5 or am I going to run 10? And I ran 10. And the day afterwards, I also ran 10. And in those runs, it was still like a little bit of I had to push myself, and I was dragging, and I had to remind myself, no, 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 I'm an athlete. I'm a runner. I'm like, I have this identity. I have like my mindset is that of a runner. And like 3 4 days in, nothing of that was there anymore. It was just like, okay, that's what you do. You wake up, you lace your shoes, and you go. There you go. And just, I mean, no big emotions attached. Not this kind of big smile of saying, wow, this is so nice. Sometimes when the flow comes, that happens, but oftentimes it's just, no, it's just routine. Let's do it. Let's get the audiobook in, or listen to some music, and do your thing. And I am now in for 4 weeks, every day a 10K. So I can imagine like this is like physical shape I have not been in 10 years. It's extremely good. And I set myself, or I committed myself to running a marathon late August. So the last day I will be 38. I will turn 39 the day after. And yeah, it just happened to be a date where a marathon was hosted in Oldenburg. And this is what I'm going to do. With the training I'm doing at the moment, shouldn't be a big issue. And I like really committed myself to doing this. It's also consciously to kind of keep myself on that running track, and push the limits even further. I did a few 20K runs. Today I did like 15.4, to kind of expand the distance. I mean, I'm not a great runner by any means. I'm pretty slow. So I take about 7 minutes per kilometer if I'm like doing my regular runs. But I don't have pain by running. I can do it for hours, and for that run, I may need 5.5 hours. Who knows? But I will finish that run. There's nothing in the world that can stop me from finishing either this run, or if I fall sick, then in another run this year. There's like nothing can happen there. So that's, yeah, already kind of like, imagine feeling so sick and tired that you can barely push yourself to do anything in the beginning of the year, and just being in this doom scroll self-pity loops, and then like committing to a marathon like that, and starting your days with 10K runs, and being like so focused and energetic when you start your work. Crazy, crazy, crazy things. And lastly, the last waypoint, it doesn't have a like so specific timeline, but over, yeah, transforming my health habits and my like more like health oriented habits, I also assumed a new identity as professional. And there is one specific story and video, which is called TBOLIT NFL. That's about like mindset, and of course, and yeah, about being the best. And it's a story of a great coach called Steve Hardison, uh, and and a client of his who's called Deuce Latui. Deuce Latui is a offensive lineman in the NFL, and the acronym stands for the best offensive lineman in the NFL. And the story is about like how he is basically ending up in a coaching situation with Steve Hardison, and he is like changing his identity and really becoming the best offensive lineman in the NFL. And I won't try to retell the story here, or uh, yeah, go into more details. You really have to watch this for yourself. And but the upshot is that as a result of kind of his uh, experiences he has in a pretty short coaching session with Steve are so profound that he really shifts, yeah, his whole identity to become the best. He becomes unstoppable. He is like just pure energy and approaches life with this mindset of being the best, which is like absolutely incredible and super powerful. And it's not just him that changes, but like it looks like the whole universe around him is bending and things are aligning and going his way. And it's a very powerful story. And of course, my experience are not nearly as powerful as this transformation. But for my professional aspirations, I really set myself a similar goal. I don't want to be the best offensive lineman because I'm not an NFL player, but I want to be the best reliability engineer. And yeah, that's an audacious statement, right? Who am I to be the best reliability engineer? There's so many great people in the industry, and I don't think of this as a competitive thing that I want to be better than somebody else. I think of this more as a mindset thing and as a aspiring to make the greatest possible thing out of the gifts and the privileges that I have inherited. And yeah, just being thankful of this and living up to their potential. And that is what this is about. And but the mindset is super powerful. You are not standing in your way. You just shoot for the moon and run and go for it and be the best that you possibly can. And this brings so much punch and so much energy. And it is yeah, it's taking me with me. And I'm like I'm thinking large with my ideas on what I want to do and how I want to like help other people to build reliable systems, help our company to become more reliable, and like organize communities around reliability and so on. And it also changed my approach to public speaking. I'm doing conference talks for like about 10 years, and I was always talking about like very technical, very mathematical topics. And from more of a mindset, okay, I tell you something smart that you probably didn't know, and I'm trying to kind of help you to get it more correct and so on. And this was the first time, like 2 weeks ago in Amsterdam, there was a conference called GoTo, the developer conference. And I was invited to speak about reliability. And this was the first time I really had that mindset of let me try to be the greatest reliability engineer that I can. And let me try to deliver the best talk that I possibly can, that I've ever done in my life. And let me approach it from an angle of love. Let me approach it from an angle of being helpful and being bringing my best in the service of the higher good and the service of the people that are there. And I mean, I don't want to be the judge of this, and the people that were there have to be the judge. But it changed a lot on how I approached it, and the feedback that I got was like out of the park positive. There was some app we could just rate, and I think I had 26 positive, 5 neutral, and 0 negative. So make of that what you want. I think it was about 200 people there, and the immediate feedback I got was also like extremely positive. And I didn't have much time to get a more complete picture of like what the room thought, but for my personal goals, this was is a big success. And my goals for the next talks are also like changed quite a bit. I do want to like live up to that persona, and I'm not holding back. I'm trying to be at my best and to bring meaningful contributions to the industry. All right. I don't actually know how long I now talked, but we are at the end of this. This is now June 24th, I believe, or 23rd. And yeah, that's about three months into this transformation. And I've solved the health issues. Who would have thought, right? I mean, of course, I'm still like working my weight goals, working on some health goals, but my mindset and my like energy levels are absolutely where I wanted them to be, and way better than I expected them to be. And so that's an amazing success, and it's only like three months into that kind of journey. And there was nothing really hard about all this. There was nothing where I really like had a big habit and I had to fight for this and kind of make it work. It was just like thinking right, getting your mindset right, designing who you want to be, and yeah, figuring this out for yourself. And I won't kind of bore you with my own rationalizations and like explaining these concepts in my own words, because I think there are a lot of people who have done that much better. They are like, there's one book I want to mention here, which is from Amy Hardison, the wife of Steve Hardison, called The Ultimate Coach, which I think is kind of the purest version of kind of that philosophy around being and inducing change from being from the inside that like made the biggest impact on me. But it's I would say it's a little bit of an advanced book. You have to know how to read it, but I can definitely recommend it. And I will add quite a few references and book recommendations again in the comments or in the blog. And I want to thank my coach Johannes Metzler, like beyond yeah, it's way beyond thank you what I want to express. It's really, he was the eye opener. It showed me the way. He led me through the door, and he was an amazing and is an amazing partner on that journey. Of course, I have to do the work, and he's not solving the problems for me, but he is giving me the tools to solve the problem. And I have a sparring partner along my journey to figure all this out, and he like basically guided me along the way. So it's an incredible privilege to had the pleasure to work with him over the past about half a year. Also sponsored by my company, and okay. We are back. Batteries are recharged, and the storage has been refilled. Took me quite a while to figure this out. Yeah, just want to continue to say thank you, Johannes, for this incredible time. Has been an amazing journey, and I'm looking forward to the next year. I just signed a 1-year coaching agreement with Johannes, which set me off quite a bit of money, but this is the best money I've ever spent, and I'm beyond excited to continue down that path and explore like deeper the meanings of like being and the limits of being, and what the future brings with this new mindset. That's it's going to be interesting. And lastly, I also want to say thank you to you, dear listener, for making it all the way through. It has been almost 60 minutes, so thank you for spending your time and attention with this story with me. And I hope there was something in there that's also helpful for you. So again, my main motivation for sharing this is that I know a lot of people are in a similar space that I have been at the beginning of the year. And for me, it's so incredible how like much is possible with this mindset things. And I will leave the pointers to the references below. So if you want to dig deeper yourself, you know where to start. And if you want to reach out, you can find me in LinkedIn. I think I have my email on the website. You will manage to find me if you want to. And also, I think the YouTube comments will be a good way to get in touch if you so desire. With that, have a great rest of your day, and see you then. Bye-bye.